Hi everyone, this is Heather with the Potomac Bead Company. Today I'm going to show you how to make one of our new bracelets called the Caduceus Bracelet. And as you can see here, the reason why we named it's because it's kind of resembles the shape of the medical doctoral nursing medical staff. Or symbol, as you may, and that's why we gave it that name. It's a very simple bracelet. For this bracelet that I have here, let me unhook it here and you'll see. I actually used twin beads for my 2-hole beads. You'll need some twin beads. You can either use twin beads or you can use SuperDuos for this project. And you'll need 11 O's and some 8 O's. This is a very simple project, and I'm going to show you how to use use the 2-needle approach. So what we're going to do first is actually use with 2 needles. We're going to work the middle portion of the bracelet, and then we'll go back and do the sides here. So go ahead and grab some SuperDuos. You'll probably need maybe 2 or 3 grams of it, and maybe 1 gram of each for the 11 O's and the 8 O's. You'll need a clasp and a toggle to end your project, and I just used for this bracelet, I just used a simple pewter clasp and toggle. The one that I'm going to do today, I'm actually going to use a spacer bead, and it's kind of resembles the Caduceus sign. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use some 11 O's for my loop to hold this. This is going to be my toggle. So go ahead and grab, you're going to need 2 English beading needles, size 10 or 12, and then a couple of feet of some Fireline or Wildfire .006 inch thread, and I'm going to use black for this. The colors that I picked out today are, I'm using a matte metallic silver 11O seed beads here, and I'm also using some SuperDuos in a red dark travertine color, and I've got some galvanized silver here in an 8O seed bead. So to do 2 needles, it does get kind of tricky, and you will be picking up your needle, putting it down, picking it up, and you might get it a little bit tangled, so you just have to kind of watch out for that. But you're going to string both sides of your thread on each needle. Once you've done that, go ahead and pick up with 1 needle 7 of your 11 O's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you're going to drop them down to the very end of your project. So it's like that. And did I pick up 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I have 8. So I'm actually going to take 1 off my project because I want 7. So just take that one off. There we go. So here are my 2 needles, my 2 pieces of, well, my 1 thread, but now it looks like 2, and my 7 11O seed beads. And with each needle, what we're going to do is pick up a SuperDuo on one and put 1 hole through 1 beading needle. And then take the other hole and take your other beading needle. So your SuperDuo is actually, both needles are going through both holes. And you're going to string that down to the bottom of your seed bead, just like that. And with 1 needle, you're going to pick up 1 11O and 3 SuperDuos. And then another 11O you're going to drop that down to the bottom of your bracelet. I'm going to put this needle down because I don't want to work with it right now. What I'm going to do is pick up my other needle and I'm going to work on the other side. So I'm going to pick up an 11-0 with that needle, 3 super duos, and another 11-0. And then I'm going to drop that down to the end of my project. So if you see here, this is what I have so far. And it might, you kind of want to try to keep it nice and taut. It's going to be hard until you bring your needles back and connect your project. But what I like to do is keep my needles on each side so I know which side is my left and which side I'm adding beads to my right. So now that I've done that, I'm going to pick up my right needle and I'm going to add an 11-0 and a SuperDuo. And no, I'm sorry, just a SuperDuo. Excuse me. I'm going to add a SuperDuo. I've already added my 11-0. And what I'm going to do for this part, I'm going to put the needle through both needles through both holes of my SuperDuo. And I'm going to bring it down like so. So it should be like this. And I'm going to bring this bracelet that I've already made out. So what I'm actually working on right now, we're actually right here. Like I said, we're doing the inside, the inner parts of the bracelet. So we are right here. And now at this point, get my needles. I'm going to pick up an 11-0 for onto both needles, and I'm going to drop them down to sit next to that SuperDuo. And now we're going to repeat the pattern that we had previously. We're going to add 3 SuperDuos and 11-0 to each needle. So I'm going to drop this. I'm going to put my left needle down. I'm going to take my right needle. I'm going to add 3 SuperDuos and an 11-0. Put my right needle down, pick up my left needle, add 3 SuperDuos and an 11-0. And then at the same time, if you want, drop your beads to your project like this. And it's okay if it's not that tight because you will tighten it up as you go. Now we're at the point where we're going to add 1 SuperDuo to both of the needles. Pick up a SuperDuo and take both of your needles and put them on the SuperDuo, and then just bring your SuperDuo down just like that. And now we're going to pick up we're going to copy the same pattern here that we have on this side, which is an 11-0 and 3 SuperDuos and another 11-0. So I'm going to put my left needle down, and with my right hand needle, I'm going to pick up an 11-0, 3 SuperDuos, another 11-0. I'm going to put that needle down. With my left hand needle, I'm going to pick up an 11-0, 3 SuperDuos, and another 11-0. And I'm going to drop them down to my project. Some advanced beaders I'm not quite tasked where I'm not quite that well at doing, using both of my hands. I have to put one needle down and do the other, and I think if I did it with 2 hands, I think I would get confused and lose where I'm at. So you kind of have to, with 2 needles, you kind of have to take your time. And when you pick up the pace, you'll figure it out and you'll have your own technique. But I'm just showing you my technique. So now that we have we've added our 4 beads here, this is where we're going to add our SuperDuo to both of our needles. So we're going to put both needles through both holes of the SuperDuo, and we're just going to bring it down to my project. I'm going to show you one more time the pattern. So with my right needle, I'm going to pick up an 11-0 and 3 SuperDuos and another 11-0. And then put that needle down. I'll pick up my left hand needle, pick up an 11-0, 3 SuperDuos, and another 11-0. And I'll bring both of my beads down to my project. And now that we're done with that, I'm going to take both of my needles and add a SuperDuo through both of my needles. And that's pretty much the pattern for the inside portion of the inner part of our Caduceus bracelet. So I want you to continue this pattern until you've reached your length of your bracelet. I'll tell you for this is a 7-inch bracelet. I have, we're going to count the middle here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 middle SuperDuo. So if that's how if you'd like to base it on that, that's how much it used for me for a 7-inch bracelet. So go ahead and continue this length, and then we'll flip our project back over. I wanted to stress one thing before we flip our project to the other side, to the outer edges of our bracelet. To prevent any clumping once we turn our project and twisting, it's pretty important that you maintain an even amount of space between your SuperDuos. You do not want to make this nice and tight. You actually want a little bit of fluidity going on here for the remaining portion of the middle part of your bracelet. And the reason why that is because once you flip your project and you get to the very end here, and we bring our needles to the outside, our 11-0s and our 8-0s here, they're actually going to bring the bracelet together. And we don't want it to kink or turn. It's going to be a lot harder for you to try to loosen it up once we try to complete the project. So try to keep as much space in between your SuperDuos as you can, and it'll be easier for you at the end. You don't want it to be nice and tight right now. You do want a little bit of space, and it'll be easier. So go ahead. That's just a little tip, a side note. So go ahead and finish the length of your bracelet. Okay, now that we've reached the length of our bracelet, I'm going to show you how to attach your loop, and then we're going to start on the upper portion and finish up this bracelet. So you should end with a SuperDuo on your bracelet, on both of your threads, okay? And then what I did was, because I'm going to use just a plain toggle for my toggle, and I don't have a clasp matching this because this is actually a spacer bead, but I liked it because it goes with the name of the bracelet. So what I'm going to do is create my own closure loop, which I just kind of strung on 15 11-0 seed beads. That's what I did onto one needle. And what I'm going to do is this is actually on my right hand needle. So if it would be helpful for you all, I'm going to do it this way. So on my right needle, I added 15 11-0 seed beads, and I'm going to take my needle down through my SuperDuo and my next 11-0 on the other side of the bracelet. And I'm going to pull. Then I'm going to put my right hand needle down on the left hand side of the bracelet. I'm going to pick up the left hand needle, and I'm going to actually string that through all 15 of my 11-0 seed beads, because I want this needle to be on the opposite end. So I'm going to string it through all of those 11-0s. I'm going to pull tight. pull both of my needles tight, both of my strings. And then I'm going to take my needle through the SuperDuo and the 11-0. Just like that. And I'm going to hold my project and I'm pulling both of my needles. So now both needles are on both sides of my project. So what we're going to do now is focus on the outer portion of our bracelet. And I would suggest working kind of at the same pace. You don't want to do the entire right hand side first and then the left hand side, because what's going to happen, your bracelet's going to be kind of lopsided. So I'm going to just kind of take it by segments. So what we're going to do here is, at this point, I'm going to pick up my right hand needle and I'm going to take my needle through the upper portion of the second hole, the upper second hole of my first SuperDuo, the one that's not attached to anything. And I'm just going to pull that. And to fill the space, I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead. And then I'm going to take my needle through the next SuperDuo of the second hole of my next SuperDuo. And to fill the space in between those two SuperDuos, I'm going to pick up an 11-0 and take it through the next SuperDuo second hole. To connect these two together, this is when you use your 8-0 seed bead. So I'm going to pick up my 8-0 galvanized silver seed bead and I'm going to take it down through the next SuperDuo, the second hole of my next SuperDuo, and I'm going to pull. And this is where I'm going to put my right hand needle down, and I'm going to pick up my left hand needle, and I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to take, see my thread is coming out of that 11 hole at the top. I'm going to take my needle through the second hole, the upper second hole of my SuperDuo, the one that's free and kind of just hanging out. And I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead. And I'm going to take my needle through the next SuperDuo, the second hole of my next SuperDuo, to fill in that space. And it's going to look like that. And here's my SuperDuo kind of hiding. So then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to pick up an 11-0 and then take my needle down the second hole of the third SuperDuo in that segment. And I'm going to pull. And now I have this big gap here to fill, so I'm going to pick up my 8-0 seed bead and I'm going to take my needle through the first SuperDuo of that second segment. I'm going to take it through that hole of that next SuperDuo, and I'm going to pull my needle and thread. And I'm going to take both of my needles, or both of my thread actually, and just kind of pull both of them to make sure it's all nice and tight. And you can kind of feel your project tighten when you do that. So that is pretty much how you finish up the second portion, or the upper portion of this bracelet. I'm going to do it one more time for you. Okay, I'm going to pick up an 11-0 between these two SuperDuos, take my needle through that second hole of the SuperDuo, and I'm going to pull. Pick up an 11-0 and take it through the second hole of the next SuperDuo. And I'm going to pull. Now I need to fill in this huge gap here. Actually, there's the SuperDuo. And I'm going to pick up an 8-0 and take my needle through that next SuperDuo. And I'm going to pull. I'm going to put my right hand needle down, going to pick up my left hand needle, pick up an 11-0 and take my needle down the second hole of the next SuperDuo and going to pull. I have beads flying everywhere here. And now I'm going to pick up another 11-0 in between those two SuperDuos. And then I'm going to take my needle down that next SuperDuo, the second hole of that next SuperDuo. And I'm going to pull. And I'm going to position my next SuperDuo because they're kind of going where they want to go. But I've got this huge space here, and this is when I pick up my 8-0. And I'm going to take my needle down that second hole of the SuperDuo. And I don't know if you guys are picking up on a pattern, but it's 2 11-0s and 1 8-0. 2 11-0s and 1 8-0. And that's the upper portion. And that's the pattern for the upper portion of this bracelet. And you're gonna keep doing this pattern until you get to the very end. Now that you've now that you've finished the top portion of your bracelet for both sides with both needles, I just want you to know where my thread is coming out of. We're actually at the very beginning of our bracelet where we first started. Both my threads coming out of the SuperDuo right there, the very first SuperDuo. So what we're going to do now, after you've added your last 2 8-0s, you've gone through that top hole of your SuperDuo, and then you took your needle and thread through that 11-0 and the next SuperDuo. So what you're going to do is take your needle on your right hand side and take it up the first 3 11-0s on the other end of the bracelet. And then with your right needle, you're going to do the same thing, kind of thread it through, and you're going to take your right needle up through the 4 11-0 seed beads. And now we're going to add our toggle clasp here. So what I'm going to do with my left hand needle, I'm going to add 4 11-0 seed beads, my toggle, and an 8-0. I'm going to drop that down. I'm going to skip my 8-0 seed bead, take my needle down through the toggle, through the 4 11-0 seed beads I added, and instead of going back down the left-hand side of the needle of my bracelet, I'm going to go down the right side of my bracelet. I'm going to go down through those seed beads as well as my SuperDuo. And I'm going to pull. I'm going to put that needle down, and I'm going to pick up my other needle because now I want to secure it. I'm going to take that needle up through those 4 11-0s, my toggle, and my 8-0. And then take it back down through my toggle, the 4 11-0s, and go to the right side of my project, or the left side of my project, excuse me, and then take it down through those 11-0 seed beads, as well as the SuperDuo. And I'm going to pull. And this is where you're going to, if you can and if you want to, you're going to take both of your thread on each side and you're just going to run it through the project a couple times and do some half hitch notches so that you can actually secure your thread in place. And there we go. You've just now completed our Caduceus bracelet and given it a nice little embellishment at the end there with your toggle. And I just want to make a quick note. If you do happen, when you're completing your first row, the middle portion of your bracelet, try to keep all of your SuperDuos out a little bit. Because what might happen, if you pull too tight, you might get a little bit of curvature at the end when you're stringing. And all you need to do is just loosen up your thread so they're not so tight. because you don't want it very tight. It'll bunch up by the time you start adding your outer layers of your bracelet. So just keep that in mind, that when you're adding your first middle portion, just kind of keep them spaced apart so they're not too tight. Otherwise, by the end of your bracelet, it will kind of bunch up. So I hope you had fun doing this bracelet. It's very simple. It's very easy. And if you have any questions, drop us a line, and check us out on Facebook, and check out our other YouTube videos if you want. And hopefully one day we'll see you in the store. So thanks again for watching.